Hey guys! So, chemistry board examinations are around the corner, and with 1 month to go, how many of you are actually losing your sleep over chemistry? Because I did when I was at your age. So I can easily relate yourself with the kind of dilemmas that you're going on, the kind of pressures that you're having, and in order to ease your anxieties and share some deep insights on chemistry and how to score 100% marks in chemistry board exam, today I, Bhavya Agrawal of askIITians, is going to conduct a webinar on the same. So this webinar is already in line with the various webinars which you have already seen of biology and mathematics, whereas physics is yet to come, whose date must have been already distributed to you. But yes guys, so please make sure that without actually staying tuned to the very end and completely getting benefited with it, you cannot get your marks. So you need to actually get involved in this webinar, understand each guideline very well and apply it in your life. And do remember that in the very end, I'm going to share a very secret strategy which I used in my time, which has actually helped me to get an easy and effective learning. So without getting wasted time, let's get started, guys. So let's start with the very first things first. Okay. So obviously you must have been experiencing few things whenever you talk to your parents, your relatives, your friends, and they tell you about few things. They tell you about few things which you really need to do in your life. But being a science student, don't you think that whenever you are going for anything or when you're going for any part which you think that you should be using, you should always know why you are doing this and how you're going to do that. So today I'm not just going to quote some points that study NCERT. No, I'll be telling you why do you need to study and how is this going to be effective in your life. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing is study NCERT well. Alright, that is told by majority of the people. But then why do we need that? So it is very much mandatory because if you see the difficulty level of the chemistry paper, it's designed in a very simple strategic manner by the board people. So this says that the difficulty level is having 15% easy questions, 70% average, and 15% difficult. Now when I say difficult, it's like another way of saying, okay, the questions can be tricky, the questions can be hot question, the question can be lengthy, they might involve lengthy calculations or maybe tough calculations which you were not expecting. So guys, the catch is not to do easy and average questions because it will be easily done and it's not tough to get 85% marks at all. But definitely when it comes to these 15% difficult questions, it's the catch. Okay, so these difficult questions are not difficult anyhow. It's just that they are quite unexpected from what you were expecting from the board part. So we generally think, okay, it's like board, the questions will be very easy, right? But it's not the case. Sometimes they actually ask you a question which you might have studied, probably, maybe for JEE, maybe for your NEET, but you are not expecting that boards can even ask this kind of question. And here you miss out. Okay. Second way of making a question difficult may be by involving some tough calculations in it. Okay, which become time consuming and at the end you're left with almost no time for yourself, for revisions. Third, which is the most important part, and that is in between the line questions. So see, board is quite prominent and they know it very well that you're not going to read every chapter properly and effectively, and they make the best use of it. So they frame a question which is in between the lines, particularly in inorganic chemistry, and give you a question and leave you in dilemma. So the best part is study NCERT well to deal with these 15% of questions. Alright, so when it comes to the next part, that is do all your back exercise questions, in-text questions, exemplar questions. All right. So yes, they are important. And there was a survey which was conducted in 2016 where people were asked, actually students, 12th grade students were asked that how difficult they found the board examinations. And majority of them said that, sir, since we did all the back exercise questions and in text, plus since we solved past 10-year question papers, we found that most of the questions were either repeated or they were based on the same genre. So they were easily tackable and attemptable, which is a good sign, isn't it? So 80% of the paper, if you are already knowing, I don't think that struggling for the next 20% is actually a big task, is it? Nah. Okay, so now let's come to the next part, which majority of the people must have told you, that is the presentation of the paper has to be effective. You have to draw proper margins, you have to underline your answers. All right. So see, the point is, whenever you're writing any board examination, two things are there. One is content, the other one is presentation. Content is something which you must be knowing it. Okay, so it completely is in your head and you have to present it in the best possible way. But presentation is always something which you can imply by yourself. So why is it mandatory? Because a board checker has to solve so many question papers. Like they have to not solve, I'm so sorry, they have to check so many papers a day. They get frustrated just like any normal human. Alright, in that case, if suddenly they see a paper which is very neat, very clean, properly spaced, with good handwriting, easily marked answers, so obviously they'll be in a good mood. And when a person is in a light mood or in a good mood, obviously that's going to affect you at the end of the day. If by anyhow you were getting out of 2 marks, 1.5 marks, so maybe because of the good mood of the person, they might award you 2. I know, you'll be thinking, ma'am, how does half mark affect? But it does when it comes to like so many half marks, and it can change your whole percentage, right? Next time is the real-time practice of using the sample papers. Okay, so this is a very good practice, though you're not going to get the proper feel, the proper exam pressure that you'll be getting in the examination hall. But definitely you're gonna learn the race against time. You have 3 hours in which you have to do all the 26 questions, but you are having an exam pressure in your examination hall. So what you can do is take this race, keep a stop clock, and do rather 31 questions which are actually there, including all the odds part. So at least you are going to increase your efficiency of writing practice so that with the remaining time you can utilize it for the pressures and for the revision, which is obviously a good practice, right? So now let's move to the next part. So guys, here is the weightage of the variety of questions that you are getting in your exams. All right. So you get very short type, short answer type 2, that is 2 markers, 3 markers, value-based question, and long answers. Now, out of these all, it is the very short type and short type which are easily attemptable. That is 1 markers and 2 markers. Easily attemptable. Now it is the 3 marker which consumes the majority of your time. Value-based question is completely dependent on you. And last is your long answer type, where you'll find 3 questions of 5 marks each. And the best part is, in all the long answer type questions, you'll get an or part. So you get overall 5 or parts, that is where you are having a choice, where 1 choice is there in a 2 marker, 1 choice in a 3 marker, and 3 choices in a 5 marker. So I'll tell you about my experience, okay? So you might be thinking, ma'am, you're sitting here and you're giving a webinar on the same. Have you actually scored 100 marks? So I'll tell you a very sad story of my life. I scored 95 marks in my board. And the worst thing that I did, which I think it was a blunder, and whenever whenever you see an or question, a choice question, please remember this lady who has given this webinar. I did a blunder where in the 29th question, I did the or part also. So instead of choosing one of the answers, I chose both of them instead of doing the 30th question. And obviously, I could not be awarded those 5 marks, but I was very confident in my overconfidence, rather, I would say. I actually gave party to all my fellow classmates, and I was like, see, today you're talking to a topper of chemistry. Sad life. Don't do that, okay? Please don't do that. Make sure. So obviously, short answers, long answers, they all are easily tackable. It's just that you have to be calm and composed while you're actually writing the answers. And please don't panic, all right? Please don't panic. The next part is the actual Marx distribution in chemistry. So as you can see, guys, out of the 3 portions in chemistry, organic is given 40% weightage, physical is given 33% weightage, and inorganic is given 27% weightage, which actually makes 23 marks for physical chemistry, 28 marks for organic, and 19 marks for inorganic. Okay, so these are the basic marks which we'll be tackling with. And right now, I'm going to show you the kind of weightage to the different physical chemistry questions, different organic and different inorganic, that how their weightage is actually distributed. This thing is actually launched by the marking scheme and the blueprint in CBSE website. So these are the different physical chemistry chapter which sums up to 23. Now out of these, it's the solid state, solutions, electro and kinetics, which makes up 19 marks. Whereas surface chemistry comes for 4 marks. All right. The next one is inorganic. Now in inorganic, the P and D and F block elements, they together constitute 13 marks out of the total 19. So you can very well understand how important these chapters are. P block elements and D and F, they together constitute 13 marks out of 19. So even if you're done with it, I don't think you require anything else, right? Apart from that, isolation and coordination together constitute 6 marks, another 6 marks. Next is your weightage for organic chemistry. So now in this, there are these many units where you have the first 4 units which involves the real-time chemistry. The real-time organic part which you talk about in the form of name reactions, in the form of mechanisms, approach, concepts. And then there are these 3 chapters which are biomolecules, polymers and chemistry in everyday life, which are basically theoretical. So guys, there's a thing. When you talk about biomolecules, polymers and chemistry in everyday life, they together constitute 10 marks. And the remaining chapters constitute the remaining 18 marks of organic chemistry. So, here I come for my strategy about which I discussed before. So the strategy is very simple. Okay, so my strategy has been, I actually divided my complete portion into the chapters I like and the chapters I dislike. See, let's be frank, okay? You cannot love every chapter of every subject. So you're always biased towards it, right? So was I. So there are a few chapters which you like, and I know hating is a wrong word, so I'll be saying it, the ones I don't like. Okay, now further, I'll be dividing these chapters into the strong chapters of mine, the ones I like, and they're strong. Strong as in the chapters I know very well. Okay, which if I'll go through them, I'll be done within an hour or something with their revision, and I can start solving the questions. So those are my strong chapters. And then there are another chapters which I do like, but I'm not that good at it. So I need to devote some time for their revision in order to start the practice of the relative questions. So the same thing is to be conducted for you don't like, because even in the chapters you don't like, you must be strong at few of the chapters which you even don't practice, but you definitely get marks, right? And that happens. So don't say no. So here I'm presenting in front of you an actual strategy which I made. So see, very frankly, I'm a little biased towards organic. I love organic like anything. But even in organic, I have my likes and my dislikes. So here is an example which I did for myself, but you can do it for yourself. And you can try distributing the chapters according to your will. So the ones I like were the real-time organic chemistry. The ones involving mechanisms, concepts. So these were haloalkenes, haloarenes, alcohols, phenols and ethers, aldehydes, ketones and carboxylic acids, and amines. These all together constitute 18 marks, which I've already discussed with you. And after practicing all these chapters, I switched myself to the ones I dislike, which were biomolecules, polymers, and chemistry in everyday life. So much to remember, so much. So what I did in my time, I learnt them in the very end days. Okay, so this time also, I think 7th is your physics paper and 13th is your chemistry. So getting 5 days gap in between. So what my strategy would have been, like last 2 days will be devoted to all those chapters which are completely theoretical based, so that I remember them and puke them in the examination hall the very next day, and I'll be relieved. Alright, so that has been my strategy. You can apply all your strategy, come up with ideas, share it with me, and I'll help you out. Okay, so the next part is that there are certain other strategies which you really need to follow. Like when it comes to organic chemistry, okay, what sort of questions are asked? So the blueprint of CBSE board launches and says that 2 marks are definitely awarded for nomenclature. Nomenclature is quite easy. Yeah, we did that in 11th grade and then again in 12th grade. So a lot of practice, right? And just 2 marks. So it's like free 2 marks. Another 3 marks are devoted to tests. So you have a lot of tests, like you have Lucas reagent test, you have Victor-Meyer, you have Hinsberg, right? You have carbylamine. So like there are various tests about which a question can be asked, and it has been awarded 3 marks according to the NCERT, or you say the board scheme. Apart from tests, the questions can be asked in the form of reasoning as well. Like, why do you think phenol is a stronger acid than ethanol? So you have to talk about everything, like the phenoxide ion and everything about that. Next part are the name reactions. Oh my god. These are very, very important. Trust me on this. So when it comes to name reactions, there are few name reactions which are quite commonly asked, like aldol condensation, Cannizaro's, Swartz, Finkelstein, Sandmeyer, Gattermann, Riemer-Tiemann, Kolbe's, Williamson's ether synthesis, and so many are there. But obviously the ones I named are very, very important. So every alternate year, or maybe out of these 5 or 6 which I have said, 5 reactions will definitely be asked. Definitely. So just focus more on that. Next part is mechanism. So guys, please don't mug mechanisms, okay? Oh, we people have a very bad habit. Oh my god, organic to samajh nahi aati. So like, just let's mug it up. So please, that's a very wrong practice. You should not be doing it. It's always better that you understand it, so that you'll never lose mark in any of the questions that can be asked, be it boards, be it JEE, be it NEET. If you are thorough with your mechanism, if you know them very well, then no one can cut even a single mark of yours, no matter how that person tries, and no matter how strong grudges he or she must be having against you. Though it never works in boards, but you never know. Your sad luck. Another important part is the conversions or the roadmap type of problems, where they give you the properties and some reactions. A is giving you B, B is giving you C, and at the end they want you to identify these ABCs, give the following reactions. This is only and exclusively possible if you have actually practiced the reactions with proper understanding. Okay, and if you have mugged up, sorry, no one can help you out. When it comes to conversions, guys, please make sure that you write the structure of the reactant and the structure of the product which has to be synthesized, and see and think of the various reactions of actually getting to what is desired. So like sometimes they say that there was a step up reaction, so one carbon has been increased, or there is a step down reaction where one carbon has been decreased. So when you see those kind of reactions, like always remember, like I always remember of Grignard. First and foremost, if there is any step up reaction where carbon has been increased, I always think of either Grignard or adding cyanide. Simple. And when it comes to the step down reactions where you have to decrease the number of carbons, I always go for decarboxylation because it's like the easiest. Add carbon, oxidize, decarboxylate, carbon is gone. Well, don't add carbon, it's already existing, just convert it into the carboxylic and remove it. Simple. Right. Now, I have an example. So I told you that I'm biased towards organic, right? So I have an example where you can see that there is an alkene. So please remember that all the chemistry chapters are somewhere, somehow interlinked, particularly the organic chemistry ones. So if you miss out any one single chapter, see, you're missing a lot. So please don't you dare think of the fact that, okay, I have done out of 7, these 5, let's skip the remaining 2. Please don't do that, because you never know how the 2 things can be interrelated. Like if you see this reaction is there in your 11th grade in the chemical properties of alkenes, whereas the same reaction is there in the preparation of alcohols, in alcohols, phenols and ethers. In this, you take the substrate, you react it with a reagent that is H positive, so you are doing actually acidic hydrolysis. So in acidic hydrolysis, there is an addition of water. Okay, but this is how taking place with the help of the electromeric effect, which you have learned in your grade 11, where this pi bond has the capability to get shifted. Now this pi bond can be shifted to this carbon, okay, where this carbon gets the negative charge, and you know that negative and positives attract each other. So if this carbon is getting the negative charge and you have a positive, so you know that these two love each other and they cannot stay away from each other. So you get an H over here and the remaining positive charge to the other carbon. But come on, this electromeric shift is not supposed to happen only in this direction, right? It can happen in the other direction too. So if that happens in the other direction, so this other carbon gets the positive charge. Right. Now we really need to understand when it happens. In the first case, there is a primary carbocation which is being formed. But in the second, there's a tertiary carbocation which is being formed. So there's one carbon missing, but I think you're intelligent enough to get that mistake, isn't it? So chill. So this tertiary carbocation, you already know, are very, very stable due to hyperconjugation. Right. So stabler the intermediate, faster is the reaction, and stable the product. So definitely you will be getting this as your major product, this as your minor, which you can remember in terms of Markovnikov's rule, which says that, okay, the nucleophilic part goes to that carbon which has less number of hydrogen. But again, that's mugging up, right? So why do mug when you can actually understand things and go with them? Okay. Now, so on the similar note, we have a strategy for physical and inorganic chemistry. All right. So for physical, we need to make the cheat sheet. Now, what is the cheat sheet? So these are the list of formulas which you need to imply. And do you know that the fact is that majority of the questions that you'll be finding in your board paper are directly formula based questions. So if you remember the formula, just use it, put the values, get your answer. As easy as that. But of course, so you must be saying, ma'am, we need to remember the formula. That is why I hate chemistry, but it's all about mugging. But then, come on, understand the fact. You can always derive the formula, but do you think that you have time? So even for mathematics, you remember this, what is sine A plus B. Even for physics, you remember a few formulas. Then why not chemistry? why do you suddenly find that okay, chemistry is so damn mugging part? Well, it is not, yeah. Accept it. So it's always better if you remember the formulas. Second, for inorganic, it's always good that you remember the chemical reactions because 5-mark chemical reactions are confirmed. You'll definitely getting those questions. And already we know that P block and D and F constitutes 13 marks, out of which 5 marks are for chemical reaction. I think that does my work, right? The third and the most important part is the interrelated topics. So when it comes to the interrelated topics, like you see SPDF, okay, these blocks are interrelated with the periodicity. When you talk about electrochemistry, redox, equilibrium, they again are interrelated. And when it comes to the concepts, so you know what, majority of the reasoning based questions are actually based on the very common concepts, like majorly you'll be using same inert pair effect, lanthanoid actinoid contractions, electronegativity concepts, ionization enthalpy concepts, atomic size concepts, penetration effect. So I don't think there is much in inorganic when it comes to reasoning. So everything is actually revolving around the same thing. So if you know that, you know what to apply, how to apply, and the work is done, isn't it? So that was all from my end, guys. All the very best. If you have any queries, please feel free to share it, and please follow all these guidelines, imply all of the things, and I'm always there to help you out. Bye guys, take care, and all the very best.